And we started with a very powerful set of personnel led by Arthur Chaskelson and Pius and Konzo Langa, Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice, both of whom had conspicuous integrity and humility and a commitment to making the Constitution real, not just for a pampered elite, not just for a racial subgroup, but for everyone.
I think there's some really interesting lessons for businesses in how this was all set up, because there was so much sort of conversation before the Constitution was written and inclusion, and like kind of all the stakeholders were rigorously kind of engaged in the setting up of these documents and the setting up of these values, which I think so often doesn't happen in more commercial spaces. It's often a leadership team that decides what it is, and then that just sort of is that. So I think there's definitely something interesting in people feeling a sense of ownership of this and feeling a sense of contribution to it. And then at the same time, the organization doesn't then behave in a different way to the kind of principles and values that it sets out. I mean, it's been tested multiple times, and the judges and the people of the court seem to stand up again and again.
One shouldn't over-mythologize the element of public participation. It's highly contested in our country. For example, the Freedom Charter was alleged to have been written by a small band of white communists, mainly Jewish communists. And yet the Freedom Charter, it doesn't matter about its provenance. The fact is that it was an evocative and quite moving charter of elementary entitlements and commitments on the part of those struggling against apartheid. And the same is true of the Constitution. There are a lot of analyses that say that this was not a true proletarian or democratic revolution. It was a compacting of elites. And to some extent it was. The ANC elite and the outgoing apartheid elite did a deal. But it was also more than that. And I'm agreeing with your point. I'm getting to your point now, having made those important qualifications. I think what they came up with had a deep integrity. And I agree with you that every time it's been tested, it's been shown to be resilient and to have depth. It's a bit like the South African flag, which was, there's also dispute about its provenance, by the way. The head of the government heraldry department got credit for doing it. Someone still claims that he gave him the idea. But the flag caught on. It doesn't matter about its provenance. Did it have genuine appeal? Did it have genuine signification in the ideas and the aspirations and the emotions of people? Yes, it did.
I suppose not as important to put like the weight in the process. It's more that the things that we create, like, are they of value? Are they serving the intentions that we set out for them to serve? Yeah. And then as an organization, do we actually uphold that? And even if we haven't necessarily achieved everything we want to, it doesnme that you can't go back to it and go, okay, well, looking at this, we need to work harder. We need to try again.
And we should be willing to do that all the time. For me, the question is, was what was produced, whether it's a flag or whether it's a set of values or whether it's a set of entitlements and rights and obligations, did it have a resonant integrity? And I think our Constitution conspicuously had that. And 27 years later, I'm talking now indiscriminately of the interim Constitution, which was succeeded by a much more deliberated final Constitution in 1996. And even that is now 25 years old. I think that conspicuously that Constitution in the composite sense had that. I think commitment to values that had authenticity and integrity, practically, this is not a feel-good issue, authenticity and integrity. It's, do these values in practical realization have authenticity and integrity? And I think they do. Then it also, and this is important, I think it was also work ethic. My goodness, we worked hard. I can't say that for all of my colleagues, but a lot of people worked really, really hard. And I think that was something of what was lost, especially in the Zuma years, where a sense of greedy looting took over, where you occupy a position and you want the car and you want the attendance and you want the prestige and you want the income, but you don't want to do any work. You occupy a public post in order to deliver, whether you're a judge or whether you're a local government official or anyone receiving public money for your income. And certainly the Constitutional Court, when I was there for 11 years, and the Appeal Court for 8 years, and the High Court for 6. You cannot live in an unequal country where there's so many dispossessed, marginalized people without feeling impelled to very, very hard work. And Arthur Chaskelson and Pius Langa and the other first judges of the Constitutional Court embodied that.
The elements I'm pulling out there is that the sort of the makeup of this is a strong set of leaders, and those leaders are driven by their personal values, and those personal values are then translated into organizational values. And those values are then sort of supported by setting up traditions that embody those values or make sure that they happen. And the way that becomes practical is creating a process that people can follow.
And we started with a very powerful set of personnel led by Arthur Chaskelson and Pius and Konzo Langa, Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice, both of whom had conspicuous integrity and humility and a commitment to making the Constitution real, not just for a pampered elite, not just for a racial subgroup, but for everyone. And that tradition, and also a tradition of commitment, you've mentioned process, and I think process is important in law because you can't just pick your outcomes in law. You've got to commit yourself to a process of hearing, of argument, of reasoning, of debate, and then eventually you come up with an answer.
There's sort of examples of how to do this. So not necessarily in the business world as much, but I think that's why looking to institutions like the Constitution Court, where there's really strong values, there's really strong kind of guiding principles and documents and traditions that you can follow. I think there are examples of how companies can learn from these things and sort of improve, because it is an imperative and it is important. And I think supporting that is one of the things that we love to do. And thank you so much for all the work and the dedication that you've given to South Africa and its people.
Thank you for your generosity, Ross, and what a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Hello YouTube, I'm Ross Drakes, I'm the founder of Nicework, and thank you so much for your time at watching this video. If you're seeing me, it means you made it all the way to the end, so we've at least done something right. If you enjoyed this, we'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button and that thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And I think more important than that is if you know someone who might need to hear this, if you think someone out there who needs this message in their life, please spread the link, because it makes a huge difference to the world, and it allows us to fulfill our message of making sure that there are no more bad brands in the world. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you in the next video.